So, diet is related to the gut. How important is a gut health for a child on the spectrum?
Gut health is very important. Like, it's called a gut brain axis. And if we speak about children with autism and ADHD, they usually have selective eating habits. They have a high nutrient requirement, but they are meeting very less nutrient requirements. Because of these issues and because of environmental factors and many other factors, they also have a leaky gut problem, gluten sensitivity, lactose sensitivity. So if gut is disrupted, the brain is disrupted.
How does diet affect the behavior of the child?
I feel gut is like a second brain. Okay, child gut is not proper. If he is having either a constipation or leaky acid or even with that reflux. Me as a mother, I have seen the different difficulties at different age. He has a kind of reflux when he was young, and I think when he came to teenage, he started having this acidity and gluten.
So, welcome both of you to the Dolly Show. We are so honored to have you both. This is what makes the Dolly Show unique. We have our professional, who is Jasmine, and she is a dietitian, and lots to add in your profile, which we'll discuss for sure. And we have our parent and a professional, which is a beautiful combination, who is Sapna ma'am. So, Dr. Sapna, I welcome you to the Dolly Show. And we're going to have crazy discussions today because the topic is diet.
Exactly.
Diet just doesn't go for neurotypicals or neurodiverse. Diet is for everybody. I think we live to eat. So, yes, it's going to be an interesting thing that we'll discuss today. So, to start with, a question for you, ma'am. So, diet is related to the gut. How important is a gut health for a child on the spectrum?
Gut health is very important. Like, the diet is important for everyone, and gut health is equally important because everything is related to there is it's called a gut brain axis. So if your diet is not proper, your gut is not proper. If your gut is not proper, your diet is not, you are not meeting all your nutritional requirements that your body needs. So a gut health is very important. If your gut is good, you are good. Everything is going to be perfect. And if we speak about, children with autism and ADHD, they usually have, selective eating habits. So that leads to, less, nutrient requirements, which there are, they have a high nutrient requirement, but they are meeting very less nutrient requirements. And because of these issues and because of environmental factors and many other factors, they also have a leaky gut problem. Some children even have gluten sensitivity, lactose sensitivity. So all of these leads to gut health issues. So if gut is disrupted, the brain is disrupted. Yes.
So, everything is correlated.
Everything is related to gut.
Gut.
The gut brain axis should be in what do you say, in coordination, so that the brain is working, so your health is working inside, outside, mentally, physically, everything is working.
We'll discuss this in depth for sure. Yes, ma'am, over to you. So, first and foremost, I would love to know your journey. And you are an occupational therapist, you are an aquatic therapist, and you are what's that? Oral placement therapy. Oh my God, so many things to discuss with both of you all today. So, first and foremost, I would love to know your journey, and then, ma'am, yours as well. So, we start with you.
So you want to know my journey as
Yes.
a parent?
As a parent, and definitely as a professional.
I am occupational therapist, and since 23 years it's almost experience now. And I'm also a mother of a special child. So there where all the journey begins, like actual journey begin, parent plus professional. So it is, and that journey is like law of learning. It's still a journey. It's not like it's ongoing. You know, when you are a parent of special child, it's a long journey. So it happened like it went like for a typical children or typical mother, how it is. First, a little denial. At 9 months, I realized, okay, he is not giving me response to name. Is there any concern? And I asked my pediatrician, and she said, no, some child's are delayed. And it like, okay, it's not a concern. But still, as a therapist or professional, I know, okay, there are some delays and which are little concerning to me. So by 18 months, I think we got him diagnosed. Diagnosed means I met developmental pediatrician and she said, yes, it's a red flag and more towards the autism spectrum. So it happened that, yes, I somewhere has little denial. Is it, or should I take another one more opinion in spite of knowing? Because as a mother, probably we all want our child to be in a typical state. Like then there was also that same thing. Why me? Why my child? And is there anything wrong we did, or is there any problem during pregnancy and this how? So knowing about the problem. But as I am a profession, probably that acceptance was little easier for me. So then I said, okay, the problem areas are there. So let me now work towards a solution area instead of going through. So that journey of accepting was little easier for me compared to probably the other parents. Now, telling these things to my family was the concern. Sometimes you can say the ignorance is bliss type. I have explained them he's having red flags and this. So for them, autism spectrum disorder is something new. And the only question I think they ask is, okay, so when he'll talk? So there is like no understanding of gravity and no stress and nothing. It was all like, as I said, that ignorance was really for them. It is like they are not stressed. I'm the one who is like, because they are probably not understanding that gravity of the diagnosis. So, but yes, they were like helping, not in too much, but yes. So for Adi, like he started, my child name is Adi. So he has little issues from beginning, like other than ASD, he also has like that picky eaters when they are. So only staple food he'll eat and not that. And then little oral sensitivity was there. I'll also come to you for the gut issues, as I said. So that's when I did my sensory integration. Then I did my oral placement therapy because he also has an oral praxis. So that coordination of my lip, tongue, jaw and the production of sound was a little difficult for him. So this is how slowly I started professionally upgrading myself. So I can say Adi helped me in making me a better version of myself. So not only as a person or human being, even with professionally. Like I started learning more about what exactly are the issues, what more I can do or what more I can learn and do about. So it's still, as I say, going on.
Fantastic. And the degrees and the profile is just going on and on and on, adding on to your benefit for sure, and the benefit to the society as well. So fantastic, very inspiring. Yes, ma'am, over to you. How did you come up and why did you take up this profession?
So I was interested in nutrition. So I went into that field. So we had one subject, just general elective subject on psychology and nutrition. So I picked that because I always had an interest in psychology. So I thought, why not, if I'm having, nutrition plus psychology, I'll go and explore. So it started there. But of course, it was just general elective subject. You do not learn much. You have to go deeper. So when it started, it was like just overall gist on what are the things, what are the psychological disorders, and which leads to eating disorders. Basically, that. So after I completed that, so I started meeting children. You know, our college is very much involved in initiatives with related to children. We go and do activities with children in rural areas.
Yeah.
So there, some children were there,
Hmm.
but of course there was no awareness because the basic need is the requirement. Basic needs are to be fulfilled. So there is no one, aware about is there something wrong with the child, or is the child suffering from something or anything. So that intrigued me a little bit more. And after that, it started with my internship. We had to do pediatric ward also. So there, I again met children with these special needs, with related to neurological disorders, and some children were, some were completely diagnosed with autism, and some had just autism spectrum, and some were ADHD. ADHD, so now I think has become common. Everyone, we can't say that these people, are completely ADHD people, but there are mild symptoms which we ignore, which we try to ignore. We try to go in denial that nahi ho sakta. This can't happen. So for that deeper understanding, then I took this certification also, to improve my knowledge, as well as to help understand me that I can diagnose properly. I can, look at them. I can understand them better. For that reason, my interest in psychology led me here.
Oh wow.
With this specialization.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, amazing journeys. Great. That's really, really impressive. So, my next question is like all parents ask, what is that diet that should I give to my child on the spectrum? So, today I have this question as to, are there any, sort of 5 set of things that any child on the spectrum will have, can eat?
No, we can't specify that all the children on the spectrum will eat the same food, because all human being is different.
Correct.
Like we said, 5 fingers are also not same.
Correct.
So like that, children are not at all same. Like if you take 5 adult individuals, they might even, they can even try to change and have food which other people are having, but children cannot. They will never eat what others are eating. And if the child is on autism spectrum, they already have many other issues related to like she said, oral issues, then selective eating. So everything is related. So for them, the not do not have this food is what I would say is highly processed and sugary food should be avoided. But the children with autism spectrum and ADHD are more inclined towards high sugar and salty food.
So then how do you correct it?
So that is the major problem that parents come across, because children are, because as we all know, sugar and salt is very addictive.
Yes.
So for that reason, it becomes very tricky. They do not have the taste of bitter and sour. So what needs to be done is, for highly salty food, like if they crave very much salt, so a sour food has to be introduced, or it has to be adjuncts which we say. So that has to be added, so that it milds the taste. It gives the perception that they are having salty, but actually it is sour, and you are not giving excess salt to the child. So that can be done. And fruits and vegetables are the one thing which needs to be added, but they are
They don't
really
eat.
picky eater, that they do not want to eat fruits and vegetables. So one has to sit and be very calm and patient with the kids, because of course they are kids with special needs. So the calmness and patience needs to be there to understand them, to understand their perspective on why are they not having it. So the not haves are the basic, which we say is bad for your health. No junk food, no processed, no sugary, no salty. But what they can have is basically, we know that what is healthy, but it depends on the child. We need to be patient with that child, what he is inclined or she is inclined towards having. And if it is not healthy, so how can we make it a better and healthy version? And
So
give
how
them?
can we make the better version? I want to
Yes.
know that.
Really, everyone must
Okay,
be
yeah.
interested.
Given a situation, supposedly the child has iron deficiency. Okay, so probably you call spinach or some kind of dry fruits which can be introduced. So how do you go about putting all these in the diet so that the iron deficiency is taken care of? How do we do that given this particular situation?
So now cereals are basically iron fortified, but as you said, spinach. So spinach, we can make nachos out of it. Not everyone is equipped with air fryers, but spinach in air fryer really gives you that crunchy feeling. You just need to put a paste of basin or something, and you can air fry it. It will give you the same texture as a crunchy kurkure texture. So spinach can be done that. Nachos kids like. So you can make a nachos out of it. In fact, I even tried not just nachos. There is a dish in one of the cafes I've visited. So that can be done. You can fry the items, but not really deep fried, but air fried to make it a healthy version. And you can give them, and they do not need to know that it is spinach in there. You can coat it with in such a way that they feel like it is something related to chips. Okay, and you can, in front of them, you can just give them the pepper and salt, and you can tell them just add it and have it. Because kids, like to get involved in cooking. Every kid, will go to the kitchen and say, ki, I want to help.
Okay.
I want to help. Every child, normal child also goes to the kitchen and says, I want to help. So what you can do is, you can do this, you can tell them, add this and have it. Because that, creates that curiosity. What is it that mom is giving me to add this? And then I can have it also. So that can be done. And for nuts are basically, they will not have like this. So you have to, powder form it and, grind it or something. And you can make anything out of it. If they are, taking chapatis, you can add nuts completely powder. No? Not even coarse, it should not be coarse. Because if they get to know that this is something I do not like, they'll stop eating it completely. So it should be completely powdered. You can add it in their food, whichever food they like. So if the basic soup and lentil soup also, if they are having, you can just add that powdered form and you can give them. If they do not like the taste, if they are not having it, do not completely stop it. But what you can do is reintroduce it after 2 days or alternate day. Do not give them regularly because they can get irritated and agitated. I do not want to have it. But when you are introducing it again, give it with the food which they like. Okay. And do not pressurize them that they need to have it today only. Just be calm. If they are just touching and looking at it, it's a win situation for us.
Yeah, because I know they have issues with texture.
Exactly. So sometimes we tell parent to just introduce a small portion in the plate so that child should accept it visually. And if he's exploring, that is also good. But don't force eating in the very first go. If child is really not willing or very sensory sometime even the smell. So they have a lot of sensory issues with it. But at least, in the visually, if they are accepting, if they are touching, even if they are cutting and throwing it, it's fine because some exploration is happening. So we try them always to go slow. See, when we say oral, it is very sensitive part, right?
Correct.
Very, if anybody asks me, can I brush your teeth? It will be like, no.
Yeah.
Because probably the other person may not know which part I'll get pain or something. So probably when it comes to oral sensitivity or something, we really go very slow with the child, because once that aversion develop or that behavior comes, it become like whatever work you have done till this goes to go back to zero.
Yeah. So yes, I for sure know that Adi was a picky eater. So how did you face that challenge? How did you overcome it? I want to know your techniques. See, as a professional, yes, they definitely can give us a lot of tips. But how do you apply them is a totally different story. So I want to know that.
So as I said, as she said also, to mix it. So we mix it with different, making it different parathas and all that, because they don't want vegetables per se. So they are okay with if anything is stuffed or already mixed with something. So one is that. Plus we also started with a vibrator brush. With,
Correct.
So with vibrator brush, with jaw whites, with how it goes slowly behind. And see, these kids sometimes they gag very easily when you give a granules or something.
Yeah.
And if there is even oral sensitivity, so usually what I used to do is that vibrator brush with different textures.
Okay.
So you can take honey, you can take tomato sauce, you can take chocolate sauce, and just giving the exposure to the all part with all taste and texture. Later on, I also usually add little coarsely grind badam or this in that honey, so that okay, even if something is coming, I'm okay, because it is not too big and neither ekdam powder. And the child start exploring just to remove that particle. Probably they are moving. So my tongue mobility, my exploring that oral part comes. So this is how probably my journey, and usually I advise this to parents also, those who have this concern about their child.
This is something new that I'm listening to, because I have heard of these electric. What do you call those? The electric toothbrushes.
Yeah.
It can be used in this way, is what I didn't know. Wow, that's nice. So yeah, we were discussing about yes, definitely one, picky eating. Two, they have issues with texture, and they have issues with chewing. The other day there was this mother who came in. She said my child used to, whenever I used to give the food, it was just kept here, and that's it. Didn't know how to chew and what to go do further. So, and there's another issue that they go is drooling. So how do you take care of all these? One by one, can we discuss?
So the child, who keeps the food behind the mouth and just, relaxes and does nothing. So for them, we usually suggest them to, give a very thin kind of food, not a hard food, which, they do not understand how to chew and what needs to be done when it is, when the time is to be taken inside, they don't know. Like,
Correct.
should I take it inside? It was hard and now it is soft and it should be gulped down.
Correct.
So what you can do is start slow, give, semi-solid kind of food. If still the semi-solid kind of food is also, they are averse to semi-solid food also, then you can come back to, a thin or liquid kind of food. But if not, if they are very comfortable with liquid, you start giving them semi-solid. And if they are, getting comfortable with the semi-solid food, then you can go back to hard food. But that too, start with, their favorite ones, and then you give them which you want to introduce. So crunchy feeling they want. So what you can do is start with a cucumber or an apple. Okay, these two are the most, which is soft also and which is hard also, which gives that crunchy texture also. So start with these when you are trying to, introduce hard food, and little by little, patiently, you can start introducing another food, which, you can make them understand that, create an environment where everyone is sitting and eating like an adult. Treat that child also like a human being as an adult only, because the child is sitting there.
Correct.
That child needs to understand that yes, I am sitting with people and I am comfortable with these people. So when the child looks at you, that you are taking the hard food, you are putting it in your mouth, you are chewing, and you are not throwing it out, or you are not keeping it, and you are taking another bite also. So they, get to understand that this is something needs to be done, that you have to take the food, chew it, and you do not have to keep it. You have to take another bite. So they start observing. Children are very observant. They start observing, and then they see, okay, now I have to eat. So on the first day, when the child just takes one bite of the hard food, and then you have to give them the solid food, it's fine. It's completely fine. But you need to make that pattern. That again the child is sitting on the table, again the child is looking at
same.
you, and he or she is taking 1 to 2 bites again. So patience is very important. A little by little, everything has to be introduced. So a lot of work and a lot of time is required.
One question that just cropped up while we were talking. So, supposedly, you have introduced these foods to the child. So, how is it like? The family is sitting, okay? So, this child will have different set of foods, or the entire family will have the same. Is only when the child will get. Otherwise, he'll feel, why have I been given some different type of food, and why are the rest of the people eating that type of food? So, how do you handle that particular situation?
Yes. So what you have to do is the basic which I told you. The hard food, when you start introducing hard food, everyone needs to have the same plate, and the child also needs to be given that small plate with the same food which the adults are having. So if the child is taking one bite on that day, it's fine. The mother can give the semi-solid food or the food which they like the other time. When everyone has went for their work, she can start and she can explain that this is the normal food which you need to have. But for today, I'm giving you your favorite food. But tomorrow we'll try again. So that is also required.
Coming over to you, ma'am. So, what would you like to say about these set of questions? I was about to I could figure out that you had a lot of information that you wanted to give out.
So as I said, I have done that oral placement therapy,
Yes.
which plays a major role in this. So as you said, two things. So when I say there is a food pocketing, it means either child there are 2-3 reasons for it. Probably sometimes they don't like it, sometimes they don't know the chewing, sometimes my tongue mobility is not that good that I can move my food bolus from this end to the other end, right? How we did
Correct.
with you too,
Correct.
right? So with this oral placement therapy, at least they taught us like how to strengthen the jaw, and then to work on the lips strength, and then to over the tongue. Like how we say about the body, we work on core, right?
Correct.
Everyone must be knowing that. Work on your core and then
Correct.
core, and then we work on our extremities. It's same like that. We work on the jaw and jaw stability and this, and then we work on other things. So this is how it goes. So once it goes, then probably we'll give them that chewing. There are jaw bites which help in jaw strengthening, which ultimately you can use it for chewing. And the muscle memory need to be developed also. So with jaw bites, probably the child can learn that. If it is, as I say, the issue is that tongue mobility, that my bolus I'm not able to move from this end, and I'm bored and I'm keeping it on one side. So the third stage is we work on the tongue mobility also. So here is how we go with, my oral placement therapy education or training. Make it easier for me to do this. Even for drooling, as I said. So for drooling, we have different, we usually encourage parent to use a spoon, because when you are using spoon, so we tell not to scrape with the teeth but with the lips, encourage that. So when I'm doing this, I'm encouraging that lip closure, plus giving them a little whistles. So I have to close my lips, and so my overall I need a strength around my lips to develop, because my open mouth is making that saliva move out
Correct.
and drooling.
Correct.
Plus my swallowing is effect, then probably we need to work on little swallowing issue also. And as I said, chewing, many times we give it in the mesh and we ask child like they doesn't want to chew. Certain crunchy they are still okay, but the fruits like apple and all that they are just not okay with that texture. So we give it in the mesh and we just ask them to chew. May not eat, but just remove it. So slowly, just to train them, like okay, this is the chewing and this is the movement which you have to do for chewing.
Wow. So these are the technical ways.
Yeah,
that you
but
can
as
have.
I said, there are more technical ways. But as a parent, at least you can start with feeding with the spoon if you think that this is not good. You can give with liquid or a semi-solid if you think that swallowing is the concern. And their positioning should be well enough. Even the positioning of the child is important when you go. So at least the small things parents can do at home.
Wow. So oral placement therapy really is needed if the child has these kind of issues.
If the child has feeding issue, also if there is a issue with clarity of the speech, because it is my muscle memory, my breathing technique. We only talk when we are breathing out, right? While inhaling we cannot talk.
Correct.
So while breathing out, how my what is my jaw position, how is my lip composition, where is my tongue, all these things. If there are certain kids, you must be knowing that not able to say certain thing clearly and this, so it helps also in
The speech clarity. Yeah, because it's all related to the oral
so as
muscles.
I say, it is like from OT point of view, I'll see the sensory issues, and if there is some difficulties with, as I say, oral issues, then I use my sensory integration plus my oral placement therapy.
Sarvagun Sampan. That's so nice. Let's come to this terms called camel milk. Then how beneficial is that, or is it just a fad? Secondly, I would love to ask the question to both of you. Secondly, gluten-free, casein-free food. So I would love to know about these two.
Okay. So not every child is gluten sensitive, and we people living in Maharashtra, we are we have the habit from generations of generations to have millets and wheat. So if some kids is not very inclined towards eating chapatis, it does not mean that they have gluten sensitivity issues. They are insensitive, they are sensitive to gluten. And not every child is lactose intolerant or casein intolerant. So for that, specific test needs to be done. The pediatrician needs to be informed, and the tests are probably done prior only to get to know that if the child is really sensitive to gluten or not. If the child is not sensitive to gluten, then it is a fad for that child, because some kids are really very sensitive towards gluten and lactose intolerant. So they do not, they need the food be completely if someone is forcing, so, and people do not have that much of awareness.
Correct.
Some people inside the family also, the family members also say that we are eating since generations. You can just force the child. The child is just acting up to tell you that they do not like this and they do not want to eat. There's nothing like this. So a test needs to be done so that there is a clarity for the child, also for the parent and for the family members, that no, this child cannot eat gluten and this child needs to be gluten free for always, because it's a problem. They are sensitive to it, they do not need to be forced. If the child is not gluten sensitive, if the child can have it, what you can do is start giving them in different forms. But if they are really sensitive, you can just eliminate the food items which have gluten, and you can give them millets. Millets are the safest option for, normally also we say if someone is, going through some digestive issues, we tell them to stop wheat for 2 to 3 days at least, because gluten creates some sensitivity. It's not that everyone is having gluten sensitivity issues, but for some days you can give rest to your stomach, your intestines. So that can be done. So millets are the safest option. You can introduce that, because when the child is small, when they're on that stage, when the food is being introduced, basically what we give is ragi porridge and that, because we start with millets. So what we can do is we can introduce millets again in the hard food form.
And what about camel milk?
Camel milk, see,
We get a lot of questions. Is camel milk really beneficial? So yeah, today we have a nutritionist who can, and of course a mother who has so much of deep knowledge. So I'll have two answers today.
So go according to your region.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have availability of camel, so if the people from Rajasthan will tell me that camel milk is good, I will say yes, it is very good. Why? Because they have camels there. They are drinking camel's milk since generations. They will not search for cows and buffaloes. Ki, give us milk. We have to feed the child. The basic they have is camels at their home. They will just take camel's milk. They will feed. The child is going to be okay. Okay. But the child living in another region, so if the child is here, we do not see camels here.
Correct.
We do not have camels. What we are drinking since generation is cow's milk, buffalo's milk. Of course, I would not suggest buffalo's milk for obvious reasons, but cow milk can be introduced. You do not have to go and try every import and export procedures and give them business, because most of the time it's just business. Okay. So for some people it is good, for others we do not know it is good. So you have to see. So for children from Rajasthan, camel's milk is very beneficial. They might not like cow's milk, but children here will not like camel's milk because it will have some another taste. So for camel, again, if you try and get it from some other place, it will be processed. They will add some, flavor to that. So what is that? It's business. So I would suggest eat local.
Whatever.
Wherever you are born, wherever you are staying, try and eat local. If you are also traveling somewhere, you will not say that I'll pack food from here and I'll take and have that only. Of course, you will try and have food from there. Why? Because your gut diversity is important. If you are living here, if you are staying here since generations, you are not going out to any other place. When you go there, of course, you will have traveler's diarrhea. You will have some issues of migraine or gut issues, anything. Why? Because your gut is not adjusted to that place. So when you explore, your gut diversity improves. So the higher your gut diversity, more your gut brain axis is going to be good.
So do you mean to say that you should travel?
Yes. Yes, of course. Every traveler will love this when I say that yes, you should travel. Because in initial days, of course, you will face some problem, but your body knows how to adjust because it is natural. We have evolved. We have evolved since generation, right? So your body knows how to adjust to places or things. So when you take the child also, do not take anything from, take something which they like, but try to introduce the food from there also, which they will like. So if they want something crunchy, you try and give them the food which is present there, because it will improve the gut diversity. The gut diversity is improved, gut brain axis will be improved. So that is important. So camel milk, cow's milk,
All is regional.
all is, yes. You have to see what is local for you, what is feasible for you. If it is in your budget, you can go and have it. Okay. If you're traveling to Rajasthan or any place which has cows or goats, you can try that milk. because kefir is very good as a probiotic, which is made of camel and goat milk. So that is very good as a probiotic. If you get it, drink it, your gut is your gut health will be improved, your gut diversity will be improved. But you cannot afford it here. If it is not feasible, you can't find it here, you have to go somewhere else and then have it. Don't do it. It's okay. You can take normal curd also from cow's milk and you can have it for a probiotic reasons. So your gut will be improved. That is it.
Good learning.
Over to you.
See, so camel milk might be good, but what is that? I'm not convinced is that camel milk improve
Any
symptoms of
symptoms?
ASD and that. I think that is something which which is kind of business. Like
Yeah.
if you Google it, I think every 3 months there will be some new therapy, some new
Correct.
food comes. So we need to see what is actually is this evidence based? Is this really correct? And so as she said, ki yes, for if you want to do that gut diversity, it's a new term for me. For gut diversity, if you are giving, that is fine. But if you are thinking that this is gonna improve my child, or this is, then it is somewhere playing with the emotions of the parent. So maybe it is healthy, but it is not gonna change. It is healthy, whichever is healthy food, it is one of the healthy food. But it's gonna make change in your child status of ASD because of some food is really. I mean, I have my own
Opinions, which is,
Opinions.
yes, definitely okay. Now, I would love to discuss with you as to how does diet affect the behavior of the child.
See, diet, as I said, as she also said, gut brain this. I usually call in simple language. I feel gut is like a second brain,
Correct.
right? So it is more when you think that okay, child gut is not proper. So if he is having either constipation or leaky acid, or even with that reflux, because me as a mother, I have seen the different difficulties at different age. He has a kind of reflux in when he was young, and I think when he came to teenage, he started having this acidity and bloating issues, or maybe not able to void the bowel completely, and it gives you little uneasiness or restlessness. So when there is this restlessness, definitely my processing will be slow, my attention will be affected. Many times my sleep will also affect because I'm uneasy. I'm not able to get that my sleep properly, right? So as you know, if sleep is not proper, I'm somewhere, as we say always, ki regulated this, that regulation or that modulation, what we call, ki, okay, today my child is modulated. So there are days when you see that, okay, whatever you say and your child is listening and doing ki, as if there is no much concerns. And there are days when you say, ki, even if I'm telling him this such a simple thing and he's not getting it. So we, as from sensory point of view, yes, I used to see sensory modulation, and that is my main areas which I usually see. Ki today is not regulated, is something happened. But as he grows up, I started realizing ki yes, even when his gut is not proper, I find this difficulty happening. So it is sensory modulation plus my little gut health. So if so these things, and as I said, ki my restlessness, my slow processing, all this are gonna give me some behaviors. So yes, it do happen that affect. And as it is said also that yeast gives you that inappropriate laughter and all that. So usually it has been advisable to reduce that thing. So she's a better person to comment over it. But so as a parent, usually we suggest with ASD, okay, aerated drinks to avoid, more sugary food to avoid, because sugar also, whatever your good bacteria flora, it affects your gut motility and digestion. Then also processed food or this thing. There are certain things which we tell to avoid so that the gut should be healthy, and the child should have little less behavior issues. So even with now, I ask parent with a sleep disturbance, if anyone come, I ask them to have their sleep routine, sleep. So with that sleep routine or with that sleep hygiene, we also write nowadays, okay, what child has written on that day to come to know, okay, today child was restless, or today child sleep very late, or in between he got up. So many times it is usually we see, okay, see to it that there is less distraction. Make a routine that, okay, he's preparing for the sleep and all this happens. So I nowadays also tell that, okay, check out that how, what was his diet for the day, that is that giving him some bloating or any other concern, and that sleep is getting disturbed. Because once my sleep and this thing goes, my next whole day become my whole day ka processing, my whole day ka focus, attention goes haywire.
Goes haywire. Correct. Correct. What would you love to say about this?
Yes, food affects your mood. Like in adults also, if we can see, someone is feeling very dull. Okay, they crave sugar. Why? Because they think the sugar is, because sugar gives that
The taste or the-
in the
energy
brain.
and
Okay.
In the brain, the sugar, when you have sugar, it is basically high carbs. So that goes and gives you a kick of dopamine, and you feel that energy for some time. Okay, that is the fake energy which you are
Correct.
getting. That is limited to that time. After that, again you will feel that you are going back to
Correct.
that lethargic feeling and that sadness and that mood swings again happens. So in children also it happens. So as we suggest, do not give them high sugary food, because first of all that is very addictive. Secondly, it goes and disturbs the gut flora. Why? Because the bad bacteria, we have good and bad both bacteria in the gut. So the moment the sugar, high sugar food and high sugary substance goes inside your intestine, the bad bacteria feed on that, and the ratio of bad bacteria increases and the good ones go down. So what will happen? The problem of constipation and irregular bowel movements start. And in an adult also, if your bowel movement is not regular, that person gets very agitated, and the whole mood then depends on the bowel movement. Same happens with the child, but the child can't even express that I am having this issue, because the child alone doesn't know that this is because of my bowel. The child cannot explain. So then the child becomes restless, the child becomes very cranky, and everything goes back to why is it happening again? What is being wrong? So the wrong is that something has been
Related to
disrupted with respect to diet. So as she told, a routine is very important, a diary is important, food diary is basically what is important. And whenever you are feeding the child, make a note of how the child was during that time. Was the child moody? Was the child cranky? Was the child, calm? Was the child very happy and elated to have that food? So you can write it, and the next time when you meet your practitioner, you can go and tell. So that will give you an idea on what is triggering and what is not. It's
Fantastic.
a very
Yeah, it's a vast
subject.
That itself is a very vast subject. I don't think
And
we'll be able to finish it in one session. We'll be having maybe 2, 3, 4 parts.
And as she said, not able to communicate our child. And there is another issue, like, okay, that is the inability to communicate. Plus, now they don't know for this much pain or discomfort or restlessness, how big reaction or how small reaction you have to do. So I actually teach my teenage children who came, okay, these are the small things. Somebody said, no, you have a little pain. And so show a little small anger, because sometimes they don't even understand for this thing how much my reaction should be. And if you have a small anger, then what else you can do? So usually we ask our parents to put a chart over
Chart.
it, especially with this teenagers, like, because teenage and teen parenting is difficult, and with special child it is special difficult. But meanwhile, if the parent can understand it is due to gut, I think we can like work out
all
much
those jobs. And how do you get to know when is the child full? Or like, fine, this is the portion that needs to be given, or how do you control that? And how do you know that?
It's motherly instinct. No, but I think the child give you some cues, either by, as I said, food pocketing. They'll do food pocketing, or they'll turn the face, or they'll move the way. As you are regularly feeding them, you know their portion types. The only thing what you have to take care is that is their height, weight, and activity level is good enough, so that you know that diet is not less. But there are certain child like who ask for more. At that time also,
Yeah.
you have to take care of
Yeah.
the same thing. That is it going beyond that thing? Then you can show that okay, this is your portion and you have to finish it. I faced a difficulty that whatever you give in a plate, my child thinks ki, okay, this much I have to finish. But he'll not ask more even if he wants. So then I introduce them picture card in a very early age. Ki, do you want more? So plate of full, or my stomach is full and a red cross over the food line. And he can choose. So I started this at a very early age. I think by because we started with communication board and choice board with the child, like what he wants to play, what he wants. So even for a food, he's full or he's not full. If he's not communicative, so we have started with that picture cards or communication board, so that he can touch and tell okay, it is done.
Which is a good technique to know, understand, and accordingly track it. Nice. So, can we just elaborate about leaky gut? What exactly is leaky gut, and how do you fix it?
So leaky gut is basically the child will not be getting the nutrients which he
They're
or she is supposed to have. First of all, there's leaky gut. There's some issue in the gut. In simple language, there's an issue. The gut is not able to digest your
Absorb
food and absorb it completely to the maximum.
Correct.
Okay. So for that reason, it needs to be checked properly. And if the child is having such issues, probiotics are the best. Probiotics need to be added in their diet, and multivitamins, etc., can be added. Vitamin D, or like healthy fats, which are very important for their brain development also, and vitamins and minerals for the overall development. Okay, so that can be done. And probiotics and fiber are the most important thing, because beyond eating, okay, your gut needs to be proper.
Correct.
As she said, the gut is the second brain. So to feed your second brain, you have to give it probiotics. You have to give fiber to it. Okay, fiber are prebiotics and probiotics are the live microorganisms which feed on this fiber, which is prebiotic. So you have to give both of it. The combination needs to be done. Why? Because if you just give fiber, where will you get the microorganisms? So you have to give probiotics also, so that the live microorganisms go and feed on the fibers, and you will get the most out of it, and your gut will be healthy. And children with ASD has problems of constipation and irritable bowel. So high fiber food is very important. And look into the matter that they are not feeding on junk food and sugary products much, because that will again lead to irritable bowel, and it will lead to diarrhea and constipation issues. And they have a very sweet tooth. Okay, sensitive also, and very sweet tooth, like they crave. So if they are feeding on chocolates will lead to constipation issues. And the child being a child will of course want that. So you have to be like, the parent has to be mindful on what are you trying to give, and what is the child actually wanting, and what actually needs to be given. So for me, the basic snack which you can always keep in your house is a sweet thing which you can give is bars. You have to make it at home. It's very easy, like date bars with peanut butter, which
Please
is,
give us the recipe.
yes,
Thank you so much.
I will surely give you that, because what happens is it is healthy and it is sweet. So you are also satisfied that your child is not eating any unhealthy or very sugary food which is from outside, and how it is handled we do not know. And your child's gut is also very happy because they are getting it a healthy version, but is a sweet version.
So can you just give us the recipe
Yes.
right now?
So
So our audience also benefit from it.
yes. So what you can do is slice the dates. Okay, just spread it on that paper, like 10 to 15. Spread it. Add some peanut butter, because it is it is fat, but it is good.
Healthy.
Yes. So you can spread it. If the child really needs that chocolatey flavor, the date will also give it. But what you can do is you can add a bit of cocoa powder, dark cocoa powder, and if you taste it and see that is it tasting sweet or is it not, because dates are there, of course it will taste sweet only. But you taste it. If you find it not being on a sweeter version and the child will not like, add some amount of jaggery or honey, not much, some amount of it, and spread it properly. Close it, keep it in the refrigerator, remove out of it, freezer, like freeze it so that it becomes cold also, because children with ASD have a sensitive teeth. So some children like very cold food, so they crave on popsicles and very icy food. So when you remove it, cut it and give them that. It's a healthy version of chocolate bar. The gut is also happy, you are also
Child is
happy,
also
child
happy.
is also happy,
And
everyone is
win-win.
happy.
it's a win-win situation.
Everyone is happy.
So also, you spoke about prebiotics and probiotics, fiber, and could you just give us a few of food items that take care of both of these?
So for probiotics, basic curd is there in your diet, which every Indian household take
Yes.
with the meal. So that can be added. If not curd, then buttermilk can be added.
Okay.
And nowadays there are yogurt also in the market, which you can get if it does not have any preservatives. So you can give that. If your child likes flavored one, what you can do is, if you are not convinced that the marketed product is gonna be good or bad, what you can do is just make it flavored version at your home. So what you can do is, if the child is craving for some blueberry or blue stuff, you can get the blueberry or strawberries at home, mix it, grind it, mix it with the curd, and make it, like, do not give the pulp, because again the child might get aversions of that also. So just make it, if it has large amount of pulp, just strain it, put it in the curd, mix it, give it the red or blue color, and present it to them as a blueberry yogurt or a strawberry yogurt, like a flavored version, which they can start having it.
Yeah, innovation in this matter is really, really playing a major role, I think. So this was probiotics. What about prebiotics?
Prebiotics are basically raw vegetables in the form of salads. They will not, of course, they will not have salads. They will not at all have it.
Exactly.
So what you can do is just saute it, or as I said, just make a different version of every fruit, every vegetable which they like, and you can give. So it's not like raw vegetables only, but you can give it in a cooked form also. It's just that fiber needs to be given for a better gut, for a better bowel movement, because if that is not proper, the child is going to be agitated and irritated.
And then
that is
we have seen the
important.
vicious circle
Yes,
that goes
it's a
around.
vicious circle. So basically, fruit and vegetables needs to be added. Do not give them juices. Matlab, I will say juices are good, but try to include the whole food so that they and keep that in front of them so that they get an idea that okay, this is a food. This needs to be eaten. This needs to be consumed inside my mouth. I have to gulp it and not just look at it. Nowadays there are toys also which comes in the market which are 3D versions. So you can include the child in that process. You can get them that. You can ask them, should we get this? Are you going to come with us? Take them to the market. Take them to, buy groceries.
Actually.
So when they go and there are variety of options in the grocery shop, and if they tell you something that take this vegetable or take that fruit, so for that you have to be innovative that you can get that and make it in a form which they are going to accept. But make sure that you are introducing different food, different fruits and vegetables in their diet because they have a pattern going on. So if they like one food, they will start really having that.
And then there will be a nutrition deficit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the parent needs to be mindful that if they are wanting that, so another food needs to
So
be
if the
introduced
child
with that.
Likes nacho, so then you can keep changing the ingredient
Yes,
of the nachos
ingredient of
and,
that nachos.
make it.
Yes.
Over to you. So you are a specialist in curating diet for diabetics. So have you had any case where a child who is on the spectrum and has diabetes as well?
So diabetes is common, but autism and diabetes have not come across. But diabetes with child with ADHD, is more common, which I have seen. So they are agitated. They are very hyperactive. So to manage their diabetes and to manage their hyperactiveness, both goes hand in hand. Suggestion is given that a chart has to be maintained. I will provide food and chart, but a table or a diary needs to be maintained on what is the food the child is having at what time, and the blood glucose levels, because here it's not just mood and emotions. Here the blood glucose also needs to be managed. So their blood glucose, a continuous glucose monitoring needs to be done so that the child or the caregiver can write it in the diary that at this time the child had this and this led to this high glucose or low glucose. So to prevent that panicky situation, a scheduled and a very curated thing needs to be, a pattern and schedule needs to be followed so that there is no emergencies which the child needs to face. There should not be any emergency situation. So everything needs to be very calmly curated as per their needs.
Yes.
So I've seen one child with this and not many child with diabetes and ASD. But I'll tell you one thing, probably the mother told me that he is in spectrum is plus point for me, because my child is absolutely ready and okay to take that insulin shot at that time because it has come in his routine and it has become his regular this. So our child is like strict to structure and routine, right? So she said somewhere he being in ASD spectrum, I don't have to push him or go behind him. He himself will come as the time comes and remind me this. So there are so many new things and so many learning from different parents. And I think being a professional, that is what I get or learn from many other parents. So this is also like the spectrum can be the plus point also because the child is not throwing any tantrum or saying no or something. He feels this is my structure and this is in my routine and I have to take it.
Perfect. So now that brings me to another question. So now, given a situation where the family is not so well to do, So, what is the kind of effective diet that you would suggest for such a family? So, nutrients obviously need to be in place, keeping in mind.
Our basic Indian diet covers most of the stuff. The focus should be on protein because that is what our Indian diet lacks. So if for a budget friendly environment also, normal eggs can be given. Eggs are very whole and staple which you can give in any form. It's not that just boiled eggs are to be given. Any form is fine. You can give eggs, poultry, and fish. Three basic things you have to include in your diet because omega 3 fatty acids are very important. So that comes from fish. Okay. Protein comes from fish, chicken, eggs. So that for gut health, curd is important. It's a small tetra pack of curd, or you can make it at home. It's not that difficult. So you can make one small katori of curd for your kid, and that he or she can have. So a basic normal whole food which is present in the home, present in a household, can be given. Fruits and vegetables every day. You can just go and purchase it and give. So that can be done. No extra things, fancy stuff is not required unless and until you are inclined towards that you have to give. Otherwise, basic homely food which is there in the house is perfectly fine. It should be whole. It should not be processed. That is the basic, importance which is given. So if fruits and vegetables are included, vitamins and minerals are done. Normal dal, rice, carbs and protein. For protein, as I said, eggs, chicken, fish, healthy fats are done.
What about vegetarians?
For vegetarians, I would say include more of dals and pulses. Though it has carbs, still you can, add like instead of one katori, you can take 2 katoris, okay, of dal. Now, if you are talking about budget friendly, you can't have tofu. But for other vegetarians who are, inclined towards it, they can have tofu. Paneer is there. Okay. In normal family, soybean are, very high in proteins for a vegetarian diet. So soybean chunks can be included in the diet. So for protein, you can add these. For vegetarian, for non-vegetarians, there are options, of course.
And what about these newer seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds? So, is it important to incorporate these, or what do you have to say about this?
These are basically healthy fats.
Okay.
Okay. Healthy fats, you get nuts and oil seeds have healthy fats. Like omega 3 for vegetarians, I would say walnut and flax seeds have high omega 3.
Okay.
Not as much as salmon will have, but yeah, you can get some amount of omega 3 from walnuts and flax seeds. So oil seeds are basically, but if you are giving them nuts, no need to include excess amount of oil seeds also in their diet. Okay, if there is a requirement of the child that they need to be put on high fat, protein and moderate carbohydrate, then you can add variety of oil seeds and nuts and normal oil also in the diet. But yes, of course, all the food is needed, all the food groups are needed in your plan. Why? Because your body needs every food, every nutrient is needed. So I would not say just taking oil seeds is going to give you health benefits, or just giving nuts is going to give you health benefits. But overall, food is very important. So if you're taking nuts and oil seeds, very good because it has omega 3. But as I suggested, moderation is the key. You can't overdo it.
Overdo anything, yeah.
And oil seeds, because it is oil, there can be a problem of constipation for the child. So you have to make sure that the child is, oil seeds and nuts already have fiber in them. They are getting fiber also. But if there is a problem of constipation, if the child suffers a lot of constipation issues, you have to take care of that also, that you're not overdoing any stuff, so that the child is not getting harmed by any of it. Increase of curd and water consumption, people usually forget, adults also forget, but hydration is very important. If you are taking fiber, water needs to be added. In general also, water is very important. Water intake should be there, but if you are giving them fiber rich food and there is no water, how will the fiber get absorbed? So to pass that fiber along your intestine, water is needed, because 70% of your body is water. So everything revolves around basic hydration, feeding, normal moderation feeding. Hydration is important. Sleep is important to make your gut calm, make your brain calm. Your first brain, your second brain, everyone needs to be calm. The environment needs to be calm. If the environment is not calm and patient friendly, the child is going to be aggravated.
Many people have to, like, even if they have feeling agitated, it's not sure. I feel our children are very quick in absorbing and sensing the mood or the thoughts or the vibes, I can say, of the other person, though they are not communicating, but they can sense it really faster than probably how you are. So many times it is said, it is like they communicate without talking, like with your body language, with your vibes. They understand it very well, and probably that also might be disturbing. And as she said, it become then that vicious cycle.
Because to improve the biodiversity of the gut, you just can't remove every food, you can't just eliminate the foods which the child is getting triggered with. Why? Because if you start eliminating all the food items which are triggering the child or causing the irritable bowel, there will be very much nutritional losses and deficiencies happening. So for that, then you have to supplement. So instead of supplementing everything with tablets and supplements, better is you remove it, you eliminate it, and reintroduce it. So, and sometimes what happens is, if you completely eliminate the food item or the food product from their diet, they can get allergic reactions to it. So you might have heard that they are allergic. But when you get tested, they are not allergic to those food items, but these allergies were created because of the elimination. So now the body is not getting adjusted to it. The body is getting repulsed. The body is feeling all foreign substances entering, and I have to react it. I have to react to it, and I have to get rid of this substance which is coming inside. So for that reason, complete elimination is not done. Eliminating and then reintroducing with smaller quantities to get the body adjusted, and then a little more quantity to see the body is getting adjusted. And if the body is not reacting, then you can safely give it to the child.
Wow. This is a new and an amazing learning that we've got today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Informative.
Yeah. Very informative. I thought if a child is allergic to something, eliminating it for always is the key. So thank you so much, both of you. Pleasure was all ours.
Thank you for having
Thank you
us.
so much for having us.